Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Nuria.
And I'm Frank.
And welcome to another episode of ITT Podcast, which stands for In This Together Podcast. Our podcast is our honest take on relationships, love, and marriage, with the aim of sharing our views and experiences for you to take from it whatever you need.
So whether you're single, dating, in a relationship, or happily married, there is something in it for you. Hi everyone, today's episode is called Keeping Up with the Joneses, and we'll be exploring the meaning of the phrase and where it came from, its impact on relationships and marriage, the influence of social media on this, and as always, we'll go through what we think about it and how we've navigated through it. Hopefully, you'll pick up some useful tips along the way. So, Nuri, why are we talking about keeping up with the Joneses today?
Well, I think in order to set out why we're discussing it, we need to think about what it means. So I'll just rattle off the Cambridge Dictionary definition. So keeping up with the Joneses is to always want to own the same expensive objects and do the same things as your friends or neighbors because you're worried about seeming less important socially than they are. So I guess the psychology behind keeping up with the Joneses is rooted in the concept of social comparison. This is the idea that people compare themselves to others in order to elevate their own worth and their own status. People who feel the need to keep up with the Joneses are motivated by a desire to maintain or improve their own social standing. This can lead to feelings of envy, insecurity, and a need to compete with others. So this is something that I think comes up quite a lot in marriage as a whole, but it's been there when we think of marriage, even historically.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the Joneses is something that I think marriages have suffered through over many, many years. And I don't think it's something that's just happening now with social media, although I think social media is one aspect of it now.
Yeah.
I think in the past, even historically across the world, in Africa, Europe, the Americas, there's always been a sense of making your marriage seem a certain way to your friends, your neighbors, and socially. So yes, now we have social media, which I think makes it a whole lot easier to keep up with the Joneses, because now you can see what everyone is doing. But I think it's always been there in just different forms. And so it's really important for us to talk about it, because it's one of those silent killers in a marriage, in a relationship.
I agree. And you can think even before social media, you can just imagine looking at your neighbor's house. They purchased a bigger house. That could form part of, wanting to have a bigger house than your neighbor. When we talk about social media now, I think it's slightly worse than it was before, because now it's literally with everything. This cuts across, travel, holidays. It's not just about what you can physically see, it's also what other people don't see day to day. And
even if you think of the rise of TikToks and couples doing like skits, which I'm not going to comment on, because I have watched some couple skits and stuff. Some of it's funny, but those skits, they really do portray a certain type of relationship. It's almost like now there's a personality attached to it. Not just the car, the house, the kids, the dog. Now it's
not a fun thing. It's not a fun. I think it's gone beyond fun. It feels like couples are trying to outdo each other. Outperform each other. That's the word I'm looking for. Outperform each other. I saw a TikTok. Is it a TikTok thing again? What is it again? Where one of the couples write something on a card, Starbucks or Pret or whatever, and then the other couple has to pick one of them. And the more I saw of those videos, it got a bit more elaborate. It went as far as like pick a car or a bag, then a house, or it's becoming quite extreme.
Dinner in Prague or dinner
in Paris. It's like, okay, so it feels like it's become a competition rather than it's just something for fun.
Yeah.
I guess it would have started off quite light-hearted, like, you know, someone just couple did it and it was fun, but now it's progressed a bit further than that. Having to go a step further to outdo each other.
Yeah, that's why I just stay clear of those TikTok reels, because it is very.
But when you watch it, do you not feel like doing it? Do you not feel like participating in it?
Yeah, like when that's the funny thing. When I see those, like, you know, who gets up earlier? She does, or he does. I do think to myself, oh, that would be fun. Like Frank and I should do that. Or when I see those, like the day, picking through the day, like you're explaining, what should we do? Breakfast in bed or breakfast at, like, you know, you do think, oh, we should do that. And that's why we're doing this, because there is that pressure to perform almost, even if you're not performing for anybody. So I can say, well, we should do that, and we just don't record it. Right, but
that's true.
But then there's a part of you that feels like, well, what's the point of doing it if you're not going to record it? Because you want to record it and make the reel, and then when you make the reel, you're like, well, I want to share it. So it's like, but I guess I refrain from it because I know that if I hadn't seen that, that's not something I would have wanted us to do. And that's the thing with TikTok. It's like sometimes when you see something, then you think, that looks like fun, I want to do it. It's only when you actually start to do it that you realize this is not fun. This is contrived fun. Because you have to like write it. You got to get the couple to pick it. You've got to make sure you record it.
You've got to plan the day.
You've got to plan it becomes is it really fun, or are you really performing?
Yeah.
But it looks like fun because obviously when you're watching it, it's like seconds.
Yeah. I can't see it being fun. Yeah. And I don't think I would have participated in it if you had approached me with that.
No, because I know there's an element of there's just an element of contrivedness about it and forcedness about it that I know will go into doing it.
Yeah.
But it is fun. I'm not going to lie. It does look like fun. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, sometimes you're just probably just going to have to accept that some things look like fun, but when you're actually trying to enact it in your real life, you'll find yourself behaving very unnaturally.
Yeah. But what if in a scenario where she wants to do it, but he doesn't want to do it?
Yeah, so you just talk about it. Why does why does she want to do it? And this is why this episode is about keeping up with the Joneses, because the definition does speak about it in terms of buying things and doing the same thing, I think it said.
Buying things and doing the same thing as your friends or neighbors.
Yeah. So I guess it absolutely applies. You know, doing those TikTok videos is a way of trying to make yourself seem... and I don't want this to feel like we're attacking people doing these TikTok videos.
This is why I was a bit cautious of this episode.
Yeah, because that's not what we're saying.
It's not a telling off episode.
Yeah.
it's not.
It's not that we're trying to tell people off, but it's part of... It's a part of self-analysis.
Yeah, and we're saying it from a relationship perspective. Yeah. So
we know how that impacts relationship, and that's why we kind of refrain from doing that. If we're going to be honest, that's why we refrain from doing it in a way, and not to say we never will do anything like that, and we never have done anything like that. That's not the case. But I'm saying, one of the things that we always do is try to analyze why we want to do something. And if it really is just so that it can be like everybody else, or just so that we can show everybody how happy and in love we are as well. Sometimes we kind of like refrain from it because we know that there's an element of performing in it, and we have to kind of be careful. It's interesting because our first episode of this podcast, we were talking about the fact that I was reluctant to do the podcast, and you always felt like it was necessary. And we were saying how people would probably think that I'm the one that wanted to, and Frank didn't necessarily. And I think that's because Frank is not as talkative as me, and he's not as
you can tell.
Oh, whatever. Frank is not as talkative as me, and so I think there's things that he probably felt like as a man he wanted to kind of say from a different perspective, kind of a different voice from what is out there. I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you felt like there's a lot of men speaking for men. And that did not resonate with you.
It literally goes against how I felt and what I believed in. So that's why
you felt like there wasn't as many voices out there like you saying what you're saying.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm quite expressive, and I was thinking about the keeping up with the Joneses element of it. I kept saying to Frank, but people are going to think we're trying to perform People are going to think we're trying to say we're perfect. People are going to think that we're trying to put our relationship out there as, you know, the gold standard. And I was very cautious of that because of the fact that I'm always analysing why I want to do something. And so for me, it was the case of, are we trying to elevate our social standing through this podcast? Are we trying to make ourselves seem more important? And so I didn't want that to be misconstrued.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's taken us so long to do this, because we've been saying, you know, let's do this podcast for years now.
Yeah.
But I guess we've had to check ourselves over and over again over the last few years, because we don't want to be doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Because it can seem like comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
And I think we've come around to the idea that no, we actually have things that we've learned along the way through our relationship that we want to share with people and help people through relationships. You know, we can't guarantee that what we've experienced and what we think will definitely help people, but it might help some people out there. And it's one of those things where if we can, then it's good for us to do it. And so I guess we kind of work through this, keeping up with the Joneses, comparing yourselves to others when it comes to the podcast. And we've decided that, no, we're doing it for the right reasons. And we set a way that we want to do it. We digress a bit then.
Yeah, we did.
We did digress a bit. But I guess the point that I was trying to make was...
Yeah, what was the point? What was the point you trying to make?
What was I trying to...
The reasons why we are doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing this to put our relationship out there as gold standard and whatnot. But
so I guess the point I was trying to make is the reason why we want to talk about keeping up with the Joneses, even though it's probably uncomfortable because it can seem like we're telling people off or we're saying don't engage in TikTok videos when it's not what we're saying, is because we do feel like this is like a silent thread through most relationships. We all naturally, you know, compare ourselves socially with other people. Yeah. And we don't always know what our partner is thinking because of social comparison being something that's very internal and it being something that you kind of sometimes don't even know is going on. Yeah. Sometimes you don't actually explore it as a couple in the relationship to challenge yourselves as a couple because it's very individual, isn't it?
It is.
You're looking at this couple on social media and then you project that onto your relationship. And sometimes you don't even realize that you've got that view because of the comparison you've done.
Exactly.
And a guy in a marriage or a relationship is looking at how other girls treat their husbands or their friends' wives.
Yeah.
Look at you laughing.
Yeah. No,
and then
it's a
they
good point.
internalize that, and then they come, you know, in their relationship, they won't say, "Oh, I noticed how such and such did this for such and such. You know, that made me feel this way. Like maybe that's something we should be doing." They don't necessarily say that. They just internalize that and kind of project in the relationship a kind of hostility about certain things.
You know, that's what you should be doing, but without actually bringing it forward and discussing it. I mean, some of those TikToks or real things they're interesting. They're good things. I actually like seeing that kind of thing. It shows a lot of positivity in relationships and whatnot. But I think if the couple, if it's not something that you both agree on, I think it's worth discussing that. How does it make you feel? Do you want to participate in doing it? And why not?
Why not if you don't?
Why not if you don't? So I think it's as you said, it's that silent killer. Like no one, you know. It's uncomfortable. Even while we're discussing it, it feels a bit uncomfortable talking about it.
And I think it's just about exploring it. I think it's an interesting topic to explore because it's very rooted in something that's natural to us as humans. And so it's interestingly difficult to explore because there's like an ideal way that you want to deal with it, but then there's the reality of it. And so you're almost trying to balance out, like, ideally, how do you want to deal with social comparison, feelings of envy, insecurity, you know, competing with others, how you should be dealing with it versus how you're going to naturally experience those feelings and what will happen naturally. So it's definitely a weird one. I also think there's something about looking at how all marriages have experienced this in different forms. There's something about exploring that could help others as well. So young people today might think that it's all about social media. It's because of social media. But if we look at our parents, for example, and we look at our parents' parents, if I think of the time of my grandparents, for example, my grandfather might have been under pressure to marry more than one wife as a way of showing his wealth.
Yeah.
As a way of showing his social standing.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And do you know, if one of his friends, let's say they all had 2 wives and one of his friends elevated to a 3rd wife.
Yeah, he's going to feel pressurized to get a 3rd or even a 4th. Yeah.
That's a potential reality. I mean, we can't cast ourselves back into time, but I'm just saying keeping up with the Joneses is not necessarily something that's Western. It is not only relevant in today's technological period. If you think of back then as well, you know, having more than one wife, having loads of children, the pressure to have more and more children.
Yeah,
the pressure to have a boy first.
To have a boy first. Yeah, that could be classed as keeping up with the Joneses if you think about it.
If you think of it like culturally.
Culturally, yeah. I would go as far.
There were many reasons why people wanted a boy first, culturally, traditionally.
Yeah.
We can go into that, but you know, there's so many reasons. Protection, obviously, historically, people would view men as stronger, more the protectors. So you want to have a boy first so you can protect your family. A lot of people. We can also talk about the fact that men would want boys first so they can carry their name. And so the more boys they had, the easier it was to carry their name. So they want the heir, you know.
But even that trend, is that not, it's been going on for generations.
Yeah, generations and centuries, and it hasn't gone.
It hasn't gone.
I think most men now they don't care that much. Like, as long as they have a child and the child is healthy and happy, they're not too fussed.
Yeah, it's a boy or a girl.
A boy or girl first, especially. Yeah. But then there are some men that really do want the boy first.
Yeah, very traditional.
Which is kind of like, you know.
Yeah, is it keeping up with the Joneses? Or you've got to ask that question. Or is it something that they really believe in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just trying to say this. It takes different forms.
It does.
In the past, it might have been about having a boy first, having loads of kids, building, you know, especially in Africa, building the biggest house. In America, it might have been owning more land, like having, you know, the biggest plantation if we're going way back hundreds of years and stuff.
Yeah.
In other more remote places, it would be like the amount of cattle you have, the amount of cows you have.
It shows your worth. Yeah.
And today's day and age, it's what house you have, or the car you have, the job you have,
you're driving. Yeah.
And
what's your wife? What does your wife look like, and whatnot? You could go as far as that.
And
you can go as far as that.
They can go as far as that.
There are guys out there, I'm sure, that, you know, they see their friend's girlfriend, and, you know,
it's time to pick a girl. They're trying to
outdo their friend. Who's like, yeah. Nah, it's the truth though. Let's be real. We have to be real.
With this man.
Like, there are some guys out there that'll be like, nah.
Are you that guy? Is he you?
It's not me, but I'm just saying that.
I know, I'm joking.
It's gotta be the thickest girl.
All right,
or the slimmest girl. Whoever their group is into, they've got to have like the finest one.
That's how they
see it.
Yeah, which is nonsense.
If you've got friends, you know, let's say there's 5 or 6 of you, and you guys are like into slim women, you're gonna, you know, to outdo someone, you need to get the slimmest thing in it.
You guys really move like that.
Trust me, I'm sure they do.
Oh my goodness! No, I'm not asking.
I don't have a lot of friends out there, but
yeah, Frank is not like.
I'm telling you, like, you know, yeah.
Jeez, that's a mess.
It's a mess, but yeah.
I didn't even thought about that. I'm sure there's a lot of girls that are like, oh dear, we didn't even know about that one.
Well, now you know.
But yeah, so in relationships, that takes the form of looking at what someone else did for someone's birthday.
Yeah.
Who's getting what for Valentine's Day, which is
soon.
Next week.
Try to do your
Valentine's coming up. I'm gonna want my flowers. Well, I do want something, but anyway, let's not move.
Okay.
I do like Valentine's recognition. Not recognition from other people, recognition from you. But I don't feel pressurized to post something every Valentine's Day.
No, you don't. You don't.
And that's because of being conscious of this, keeping up with the Joneses thing. Like, you know, if we do something nice, I happen to take a picture, I happen to film it, I want to post it. I don't let that stop me from posting happy moments. But I will not insist on Frank doing something spectacular or extraordinary or anything specific in order to post it
for the gram.
For the gram.
Nah, we don't work that way.
Yeah.
Nah.
And I think that can cause issues in a relationship.
When
you're so wrapped up in keeping up with the Joneses that you want your boyfriend or your husband to do certain things for things like Valentine's Day and your birthday or your anniversary.
And if it doesn't quite match what you've seen on Instagram, it could become a problem.
Exactly.
You might start questioning his love for you, which is a bit like, okay, like... So this is why we're talking about this stuff, because it's important. It's important.
Because that could cause a lot of issues in your relationship. You find yourself trying to
I think it's perfect that we're talking about it a week before Valentine's.
I know. We didn't even plan it.
Yeah, I think it's perfect.
That's so true. Week before Valentine's Day, keeping up with the Joneses is perfect because it's true. Yeah. A lot of women are going to feel the pressure to perform Valentine's Day, to perform, to demonstrate.
You mean a lot of men are going to feel the pressure to perform, because obviously it's the men that perform.
That's true, sorry.
Valentine's Day.
The women will probably feel the pressure to display their man's performance of Valentine's Day.
Which is problematic.
So do you find yourself comparing your relationship to others?
I don't think I do. I don't think I do find myself comparing my relationship with others, because I'm not on social media like that.
Oh yes,
I've removed myself from social media, so I don't really see. I mean, I only went back on social media a couple of weeks ago when we started this podcast,
and he instantly
and I don't like it. I plan to remove myself again. Yes, I really don't compare. I don't see the point.
What did you not like about it then?
It was a bit too much. Not that it made me feel uncomfortable, but I just felt like these are not what relationships are like. Because I know what being in a relationship, being in a marriage, I know what it's like. Quite a lot. There were some genuine things that were posted on there, but I felt like probably 70-80% of the things posted on there were not genuine. So that's why I had to remove myself from it. I just wouldn't be part of that.
What was going on? What were you trying to avoid, Sam?
It's just... people just like what's happened. I think it's even worse now. Just people posting stuff, planning stuff with their partners and, posting it up.
So you're a hater, basically.
Well, you can call me a hater, but I'm just, listen, let's just be real with ourselves. It's good to do nice things for each other. I don't think all things should be posted on social media. You have that private moment. It feels like there isn't any intimacy anymore in terms of like having a private dinner with your wife or with your girlfriend. Everything's posted. Everyone will know your location.
Oh dear.
It's live.
Although I don't post stuff straight away. I film us doing stuff and I don't post it there and then when we're there.
Okay.
I always post it like the next day or something like that. But I have to say, Frank and I have very different views on social media, like in terms of...
Of course we do. Of course we do.
And so when he wanted to remove himself from social media, I'm sure that to some girls, that's their dream. Like, great, I don't want my man on social media looking at other women or, pictures or... But I was like, no, don't go. I didn't want you to leave.
It was fun. It was fun when I was on social media, because I remember we used to share a lot of... comedy stuff, a lot of fun stuff. So I do miss that part of it, but overall it's like I felt like there was just too much going on. There's a lot of
there was a lot of girls. Just tell everybody there was a lot of women on
there's a lot of women, but who cares
pictures
about
of women, videos of women.
Who cares about that? It's neither here nor there. There's always been.
Wasn't that one of the reasons why you just got tired of seeing random women on your feed?
No, that's not why. That's not the reason. That's not the main reason why I left social media. I left social media because of the fakery, because of the madness happening there. It goes beyond. It's also like guys and the whole workout routine and the whole fake packs and all of that shit, taking steroids, working out and acting like it's this is a 6 weeks job. No, it isn't a 6 week job, man. You took some drugs and you worked out, you blew your muscles out. That's what you did, mate. We all know that.
Okay,
so it's it's not just that the women and whatnot. We have to add certain things together that for me, I'm not a social media person. So
okay, so not on social media. Let's say you lived, at my granddad's time. So there was no social media. Do you think you would find yourself comparing your relationship to others?
when I catch myself comparing my relationship to others, it will be in terms of improvement. It will not be from an angle of envy. That's how I see it, because I think relationship-wise, there's a lot we can learn from each other. But it's not for me, it's not from an angle of envy, like, oh, they've got a nice house, or we need to buy a bigger house. I don't think I've ever been in that space, and I don't think I will ever be in that space. How about you?
Do I find myself comparing?
Be brutally honest. Be brutally honest. Yeah.
I don't know, because I think, right, I'm such a socially observant person. Because like I said, I love sociology, I love psychology, I watch human beings, I watch behaviors and all of that stuff. So I do watch others. But do I compare myself to them? Maybe from a social research perspective, from like an analysis perspective, I might look at a couple and be like, they operate like this. That's interesting. I wonder what dynamic they have that makes them operate like that. And it might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. So I compare us to others in that sense, because I'm always analysing.
You're curious.
Yeah. But I don't compare them to us in the sense that, well, why don't we have that? Why are we not doing this? But I am a lot more inquisitive than you. And I think I do tend to kind of analyse people and stuff and situations. So yeah, I do find myself comparing our relationship to others, but it's probably more from a social perspective than an envious perspective. Okay. So we're kind of probably the same on that. Okay. Yeah. Whereas mine is probably a bit more social than you, because you don't really care that much about the differences socially and all of that. So yeah, that's where we differ.
Oh, okay.
But we are similar in that I don't envy other people's relationships. I don't wish to have certain things that they have, because a lot of the times as well, I realise that what I see is only what I see. It's not necessarily the reality.
Yeah, it's not the full picture.
And that's why we even want to do this podcast. That's why we're doing this, because we recognise how much people probably look at our relationship and infer certain things from it, or have a perception of our relationship. And sometimes that might not be the reality of our relationship, especially because we've been together for so long.
It's great, by the way.
No, whatever.
I'm just, carry on.
You know, we've got young people in our families. I've got cousins and stuff like that as well. And our kids as well, they'll have a perception of our relationship growing up.
That's true.
Watching it.
That is true.
They can listen back to this and be like, oh, this is what was going on with mum and dad. And So there's stuff there that I think is good to clarify through openness and kind of discussion.
Yeah. So in saying that, so what do you think the impact has been from a social media perspective? Have you ever been on social media where you've seen a couple, they've got that big, nice house that they've just built, and thought to yourself, oh, I wish we could do that? Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
You have?
Because it's natural, because I love houses.
You love houses?
Like, duh. No, I'm joking. I do love houses, though. I love houses.
But that's from a motivational perspective.
Yeah.
But this is why it's important that we draw this out from this podcast, that keeping up with the Joneses is not only negative. There's a positive side to it. There's a motivational part of it. It's how you take it and run with it, because you can see what other people have, and that should motivate you to work harder
to improve what you have.
Not for you to kill yourself to try and get what they have, but improve.
Or to give up on defeat and be like, my relationship will never be like this.
Exactly,
I will never have what they have, and so what's the point? And then you just grow into this bitter space.
Exactly. It's about asking. You see a couple, they look really happy. Ask them.
Yeah.
What's so good? What's so good about your relationship? About your relationship? No.
Why are you so happy?
Why are you so happy? No, be open about it. I'll go as far as be open about it.
I was joking.
I'm being real. It's like, what makes your relationship great? Like, are you happy in a relationship? What makes your relationship great? I think relationship podcasts are very important, because let's keep it real. Let's be honest with people out there.
Yeah. I mean, you asked me a question.
Sorry,
and then you babbled.
And then I answered the question.
What do you think about the impact that social media has had? Yeah, that's what you want to know.
Yeah.
I think the impact of social media on relationships from a Keeping Up with the Joneses context has been catastrophic. Is that the right way to say catastrophic?
I think so.
Why, it's a hard word. Because I think we have gone to new levels. Like, if I think of my granddad, like I'm saying, I always go back to my granddad, because that's 2 generations away.
Yeah.
The people able to influence him were literally the people around him. It was his neighbors, it was his family members, it was the people in the area. That is it. He did not know what people were doing relationship-wise in America.
Yeah.
He didn't know what people were doing relationship-wise in Europe. So if I think of us today, we are not only influenced by our neighbors and our friends, we are influenced by Jack and Jill in Wyoming. We're influenced by Sarah and Stephen in South Africa. We're influenced by the random couple that we came across on TikTok. Like, there's so much access to people's projection of their relationship that it is almost like, I think it's catastrophic, because couple goals, for example, I never liked #couple goals. Couple goals always disturbs me, because I'm like, it's not even real. You're only going by what that couple are doing in that 10-second video clip. It's just like, that's not even a relationship. That's a 10-second clip. You know what I mean? So I've always felt like those kind of things, couple goal, relationship goals and all that stuff, they're great because I understand why they're there. I mean, that's why we're doing this podcast, to help other people kind of get an idea of the fullness of a marriage, of a relationship. But they're also very catastrophic for other people's relationships if not handled properly.
Yeah.
Because you will use all these pieces of all these different people and all these different relationships to draw, like a canvas, the perfect relationship. And then you will use that perfect relationship that you've drawn as a mirror to hold up against your own relationship. And it will not live up to it. No,
it never does.
It just won't.
It never does, because obviously you're different people from what you see on social media. And if it doesn't quite match, then there's a panic. There is a, confusion to why can't I have this life that I want? But then you forget that image was put together for you through social media. So you're literally got a picture of moments, best moments of a relationship, a snapshot. You're not looking at the full picture.
No, not at all. And I think that's why,
that's risky.
To me, social media, the impact of it has been catastrophic. But at the same time, looking at it from a different vantage point, it has also been positive in the sense that it has allowed people to see what a good relationship could look like. You know, if you think of it historically, how was marriage always portrayed? Just like this, this relationship that you just exist in, or the other half and the nagging wife and the husband who's uninterested. And so there's always been this kind of mundane perception of marriage throughout the years, where social media has come and kind of romanticized marriage and almost romanticized relationships. So now there is another side of it. There's a nicer side of it that you can aspire to have. And so in that way, I guess it is also positive, because you can see how other people, even if they're performing, because you don't know if they're real or performing, how other people are treating their wives, how other people are treating their husbands, and you can take good things from it as well. So in a way, I guess maybe I should backtrack a bit. It's had a catastrophically negative impact in that there's so much more influence. But if you deal with that correctly, you can get so much benefit from it as well. Yeah. In terms of positive depictions of a marriage.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. It has to be handled carefully. And I think you have to take from it what you can. You have to just understand that it's not the full picture. Once you understand that, whatever you see online, whatever you see on social media, it's fine to just, that's really nice, rather than just feeling like that's just a relationship. Or they fly from Switzerland to Kenya, they holiday from Kenya to that's not how it happens. It's always like that. So
or like even during that holiday, you're seeing all the nice bits where they're hugging and smiling, and they might have argued like 10 times. It's like they literally just started smiling when the camera started filming. People don't even think about that.
You don't post anything up after we just had an argument. You don't post anything up if we were arguing. If I was telling, Nuria, you're not going to record that and post it up on social media, would you?
I have thought about doing it sometimes.
And then what stops you?
Because you won't want our business out there. But there's been times where I'm like, sometimes I do want to share the negative sides because I do want to give that the balance.
No,
but at the same time, I have to respect the privacy of our relationship.
But you see, that's important. This is what I'm talking about when I mentioned earlier about there being a conflict. Because you might be a social media person and I'm not. But you want to post, you feel like you should be able to post something up like that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And we'll have an issue.
Yeah. And I understand that. That's why I respect that. That's why I also when we go for our date nights and dinner or whatever, I don't film the whole night. I'll film our location, if the place is nice aesthetics, I'll film that. And I might film our food. That's it really. That might take a picture or two and then I let us have our evening because I do like memories. It's not just about social media. Even before social media, I used to take pictures of us all the time because I'm such a picture person.
Yeah, you did.
So I will, and there's loads of times we go out, we do stuff that I film and I don't even end up posting it at all because I never post it in real time anyway. So sometimes to sit down and compile a little story of our date night or our day out, sometimes I don't even bother to do it. But I do like recording it. I do like having things to look back on. So yeah, there are parts of it that I like and I do, but I do try and keep you in mind. So yeah, let's move on to speaking about it a bit more specifically. So what are the benefits and drawbacks of trying to keep up with the Joneses? So what are the benefits in your opinion, Frank?
As I mentioned earlier, there is a motivational side to that. It can help you stay competitive. It can help in a healthy way. Yeah, because you can be competitive in a healthy way and unhealthy way. So it can motivate you. Seeing other people achieving great things that can give you the belief that yes, I can. If they can do it, I can do it. I think that's definitely for me the most beneficial part of keeping up with the Joneses. It can definitely motivate you.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, help you to achieve more. Seeing other people do certain things can inspire you to do more. And it can help you kind of stay connected to the people around you, your peers, your community. You kind of, when you think of growing together, that is a way. As long as it's not copycat mentality.
No, exactly.
It's a form of growing, a form of growth. You know, we have a really close couple in your cousin and his wife, and we help each other, we inspire each other, we motivate each other, we give information to each other. And they're our closest couple, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's just, there's no envy there. There's no jealousy there.
Motivational part of, I would say they motivate us a lot. And I'm sure we do the same to them. So, that's healthy.
But there's no jealousy there. There's no envy there. There's no competition. It's all about growing together as peers and kind of inspiring each other. So in that way, sometimes when they do certain things, we're like, oh yeah, we should try that. Or when we do certain things, we give them advice about things they can do in their relationship, and they'll be like, yeah, we should try that. So it's keeping each other, elevating.
Yeah. It's about improving each other's lives. It's all from a place of love.
Yeah. So what would you say the drawbacks are? What are the negatives of keeping up with the Joneses?
Oh, it can be very expensive.
Yep. If you out here trying to outdo people, oh my God, don't get me started.
You can...
Being Congolese, I know about people going in debt.
It can be very, very expensive. You could be trying to outdo the whole world and it wouldn't stop. So there is
financial difficulty. Yep, I can see that.
Resentment, dissatisfaction, because you want to get that. You want to become that person. And then when you get there, you realize that person is not you.
Yeah.
That's it. So you're looking at someone in the mirror that you've become, but you don't recognize that person.
Yeah, because there's nothing authentic about what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
And I guess also dissatisfaction in your own life while you're trying to become someone that you're not. Yeah. Because one of the things that can keep you positive in today's society is gratitude.
Yeah.
Being grateful for what you do have, looking at what you do have and being proud of what you've already achieved and all of that. So if you're kind of hooked on trying to keep up with what other people are doing and do more and outdo other people, you can very easily find that you're just not satisfied with your own life, which can lead to depression.
Yeah.
It can lead to anxiety. It can lead to like outbursts of anger.
Yeah.
And relationship issues in your relationship as well.
You could have a huge impact on your relationship or your marriage. Yeah.
And like you said before, competition and comparison can be healthy, but it can also be unhealthy.
Okay, I agree.
Where you're competing for competing's sake instead of competing to better yourself.
Competing to outdo
the
other.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can you maintain, or what do you do, Frank, to maintain a sense of contentment and satisfaction in your relationship?
I focus on what I have already. And what I've achieved. I focus on my family, you, the kids, the things that are in front of me. Be more grateful with what I have. I think that's very important. Find joy in simple things. Spending time with you, spending time with the kids. I think because it's very easy to see what's around you and having the need to want more. Yeah. How about you?
So I maintain a sense of contentment and satisfaction and I don't do this all the time these days because if things get really busy, I do fall off on this, but I try to meditate. Meditating really helps me.
Yeah.
Through meditation, I kind of think about affirmations. So Frank and I, a couple of years back, wrote down some affirmations for ourselves. And a lot of it was about our relationship and, what we want out of our lives and stuff. And so that really helps me to stay focused on, the same with you, what I already have and what really matters in this world, So meditating really, really helps. Just being still, because everything is so rushed in this world that 10 minutes of being still, for example, doing my daily calm in the morning. There was a period of time when I used to do that all the time and that was really helpful. Now I do it on and off, but I do need to get back to doing it all the time. So meditating, I would say I also stay quite content and satisfied by remembering that we all walk our own path. So a few episodes back I spoke about for everything there's an appointed time. And so because I've always had that as a baseline to kind of refer back to, even if someone is doing really great or achieving stuff that I'm not achieving, I know for a fact that my time will come, my path is different, and the things that I want for myself have their own time frame.
Yeah.
So I don't feel dissatisfied about where our relationship is at because I know that we've gone through a certain journey to get there and it's a very challenging journey at times. And so I'm proud of us no matter what. So I concentrate on knowing that everything has a time and we're on our own path.
Yeah, so it's really good.
So what about comparing? So what are some of the strategies, like actual strategies to avoid the comparison trap? Like what do you do to kind of stop yourself from comparing yourself and your relationship to others?
I think for me, one of the key things is focus on your relationship. In the last episode, we spoke about roles and responsibilities. And so I think if you focus a lot on your relationship and what you should be doing in your relationship or how you should be treating your partner, you will often find that there isn't room to be thinking about other couple or someone else or other things. So I think that for me is the number one thing. If you focus on yourself, focus on your relationship, focus on your partner, I think everything else kind of just falls away.
And I think we've named quite a few things already that are strategies for comparison, like being like me talking about gratitude.
Yeah,
that's another strategy. Take time to be grateful on what you've achieved as a couple and
celebrate others.
If
other couples are doing great, be like, well done, congratulations.
Yeah, because it's really important to be happy for other people.
It is.
Yeah, it's super important to be happy for other people. And also another strategy would be to be realistic.
Set
like
realistic goals.
Yeah, if there's stuff you guys want to achieve, look at your own lives and how that kind of fits around.
Yeah, look at your finances.
Yeah,
look
exactly.
At, what you as a couple can realistically achieve.
Yeah, so like we've said, focus on your relationship. Celebrate other people's success and what they're doing. Be grateful. Be realistic. walking your own path. I was talking about as well, you know, remembering that you're on your own journey. Also avoid social media. Limit social, not just avoid it, but I think limit it. Maybe set a time frame for when you look at social media. I was saying earlier that even I'm not on social media as much. You know, Frank's not on it at all nowadays, really. He just goes on to post a few things here and there. But I am on social media less and less. And I find that I go on, I post a story here and there, but especially during the week, I'm not on social media much at all. I rarely scroll through social media, but I have like a set time frame in the evening that I give myself, about half an hour. And that's like when I'm chilling. If I don't get time to chill, I really don't go on social media. I don't just randomly go on it. And another thing as well that can help with this in terms of like limiting social media, and because that's one of the places where comparison can really breed, is I don't have notifications on for social media apps.
Yeah.
So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of that, my notifications for them are turned off. So even if I get a DM or I get a message on Snapchat, I won't even know unless I go on my social media that message is there. So I don't have it notifying me. And that has really, I've been doing that for quite a few years now. But that's really helped me to avoid social media and limit it. Yeah. So I go on it and set times. And I do go on it every day, so I will see. But, you know, you don't have to respond right away.
Yeah. But if you can avoid it, avoid social media. If you can't, limit social media. Yeah.
Another tip or another strategy as well is talk to your partner about things that you see that are making you feel a certain way.
Yes. I think that's probably the most important thing. Be open to each other about it. Communicate. Yes.
So we've said, to sum up, we think that there are benefits to keeping up with the Joneses, like we've said, that kind of motivational side of it, influence, growing as a
community, you know, celebrating each other.
But there's also huge drawbacks to comparing yourselves to others. Keeping up with the Joneses is you create unnecessary problems in your relationship. You can get into financial distress trying to like keep up with people. You start living a life that's not authentic, that's not your own. You can get depressed when you start comparing yourselves to others, dissatisfied. Right. You can also become quite a bitter, jealous, envious person from it as well. So those are things that are important to bear in mind and to try and keep away from. And in terms of the strategies for avoiding comparisons and the keeping up with the Joneses phenomenon is focus on your own relationship and your partner specifically. Celebrate other people's relationships and love and achievements and things like that. Be grateful, practice gratitude. Be realistic, so set realistic goals for things that you want to achieve. Be realistic about what is real for you and your partner. Avoid or limit social media.
Find your own path.
Remember that you're on your own journey. And talk to your partner as much as possible. Communicate how you're feeling about things.
Be very open.
So I think that covers keeping up with the Joneses, doesn't it? We've kind of given an overview of what it is, how we think it's kind of gone through the ages, how social media impacts it today, what it looks like today. We've given some tips on coping with it and handling it as a phenomenon. And
we've discussed the benefits and drawbacks of it.
And we've given our own kind of personal
takes on it.
Our own personal take. So that pretty much covers that. We have a little announcement to make. So we've received an email this week with our very first dilemma. Yay! So we're going to introduce our new segment called In This With You, which we will be covering whenever we get a dilemma. So what we're going to do when we get dilemmas is we're going to read out the dilemma and then we're going to discuss the dilemma in the next episode. And the reason for this is because most of the things that we're going to probably get as dilemmas for relationships and marriage, etc., are things that we've already got on our list to discuss. So, for example, this dilemma ties in very neatly with the topic that we're going to discuss next week. And so I'll read out the dilemma and we'll see if you can guess what the topic is, but we'll tell you the topic at the end. So should I read out the dilemma?
Go for it.
Okay, so the email says, "Hey, Nuri and Franks, I'm absolutely loving the podcast so far. Thank you. As a woman of a particular age, it is so refreshing being able to take in some mature content closer to the types of conversations I have with my friends on love and relationships. I have a dilemma or a request for your advice. I have recently started to date a guy, and for the first time ever, I have been approaching getting to know him from a place of vulnerability. No games, no holding back, just straight from the heart. He's being open too, but I feel as if he's slightly more guarded or measured than I am in sharing his feelings about me, although it is clear that he feels a connection too. My problem is, how much is too much information to share with someone you've just started dating? I do feel comfortable sharing and being open, but a part of me thinks knowledge is power. The more someone knows about your insecurities, thoughts and feelings, the more they have the potential to use it to manipulate you. Secondly, being too open with your growing feelings for a man could scare him off if done too early. I'd love to know both your views on this. Keep up the great content. Your number one follower." Well, thank you for that dilemma. So next week's episode is called The Importance of Vulnerability. And we're going to be talking about how important it is to be open and to be vulnerable in a relationship. So we're going to discuss this dilemma in detail in next week's episode, alongside all of the information we kind of wanted to go through on the importance of vulnerability. So that's giving you a bit of heads up, because at least you know what the dilemma is, and we'll go through it again in the next episode. Yeah. What do you think about the dilemma, Frank?
I think it's an interesting one. and look forward to discussing it next week.
Yeah, it'll be good to get a male perspective on it as well.
Yeah. I think
I mean, does a woman being too open about how she feels early on scare men
Tune in
off?
next week to hear my points. You're going to want to hear it.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. You've heard what we think about keeping up with the Joneses. And we've talked about how, through society and social media, it has influenced relationships and marriages, and what the impact of these influences has been. We've also given you some tips for coping with and handling this social phenomenon. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Let us know your views and how you deal with the comparison dilemma in the comments, or send us an email. We appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen to our podcast, and we're super grateful for all your engagement with us. We really hope you tune into the next episode, where we'll be talking about the importance of vulnerability. This will cover why it's important to be vulnerable in a relationship, why to always be open about how you feel, and also how to not be afraid to be vulnerable. And don't forget to email us any of your questions, comments, or dilemmas at itt.thepodcast@gmail.com, or send us a DM on Instagram at ITT Podcast, or one word. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll speak to you on the next one.
Bye.